Hello and welcome to another video. This video I'm going to be tackling the roof. So as you can see at this point I've got all the walls up. The roof structure is going to be put on next. I've just done my template rafter. So you want to check all the walls are plumb at this point, so they're all straight, straight as can be. So all the braces are still in until the roof is fixed down. And the way I'm going to be constructing this is by doing joist hangers on the front wall across this lintel, and I've also got grounds, and then doing a bird's mouth across the back wall. So on the front wall, where I have the issues with height and having to stay below 2.5 meters, I am going to put joist hangers within the structure rather than sit the roof on top. I'm just going to take a batten and I'm going to mark my 400 centres, and I'm going to use this batten as a story stick on the front and the back of the building. Save me struggling on my own with a tape measure going down the building, and I'm just going to mark my points for all my roof rafters or ceiling joists all across the building. Once I offered one of them up, you can sort of see how high the building is going to be internally. This is 215 centimetres at this end. I'm between 5'9" and 5'10", so I'm not the tallest man in the world, but there's plenty of room. The internal height will be 7'2". So to mark the rafters, I've made a template and I'm just marking it on each one of the rafters, and then going down it with a circular saw, and then finishing it off with the hand saw. This is me placing the rafters up there. I'm doing them one at a time, cutting them one at a time, just in case there is any variation across the building. I know the base of the building was 3mm out of square, which is nothing in timber structures, but all of the roof rafters joists were within 1 or 2 mil of each other, so I'm pretty happy with how square the building is. So I'm just using some reclaimed timber here, so I had some spare lengths of 8x2s rather than going out and buying some 6x2s, as I needed more for the roof. The decision was taken to actually cut down the 8x2s, so they're currently 195mm. I'm cutting them down to 145mm. We're using the cordless dewalt saw with a fresh blade. After a period of time, you can see you become pretty astute with the circular saw, so I'm just going to go down with a plane. Well, not on this one because it's perfect, but on a different one I'm going to go down with a plane and plane the edges. This one, although marked in red on the edge, was planed down, so you can see it's pretty straight. For a roof rafter, it's pretty straight. So this previously was an 8x2. All the rafters are in place at this point. They have a bird's mouth at the back and they're butted up flush to the lintel at the front of the building. This is only fixed on with 90mm nails at the moment, but it's plenty adequate to hold it in place until I get the noggins in and the joist hangers. I haven't fixed it at the rear of the building as it sits over and gravity is holding it in place. So I'm going along with a story stick. It's cut to 1200 millimeters, and I'm fitting in noggins, staggering them as I go. So this is just to maximize insulation, very similar to what I did in the floor. So if you go back to that previous video of me building the base of the garden room, you can see everything I'm doing to minimize cuts. So you only need to do one cut on the insulation, and that's your width. The length is already taken care of. So I just need to get the joist hangers in. So I'm just setting up some hop-ups along the building so I don't have to keep moving the same hop-up. And then just putting on my hangers, doing this with twist nails all across the front. There's grounds to fix the lintel against the lintel. And yeah, this is just to increase the strength of the roof structure. Make sure the roof doesn't lift off and fly away. After all my joist hangers in the floor and the ceiling, I've got through around 3 bags of twist nails. I wouldn't say it's worth a PPN gun, not even worth hiring one. I don't know whether there would have been any time saved, unless you're worried you're going to hit your fingers, but my fingers survived this. 5 of the boards fixed down at this point. It took me about an hour and a half to glue, screw and nail them. And yeah, using the planer to take off any proud noggins, as all the timber wasn't exactly the same size I was using for noggins. I could have marked the board edge with the board in place, looking back at it, but what I did, I measured off the previous board, marked where the board would end. This is just so I can ensure I don't put excess PU glue on, because it becomes another job to scrape it off. So I'm just going to measure off the board 122 centimeters or 1220 millimeters, which is the thickness of these boards, the width of these boards, and then I'm going to mark that with my pencil and then run a chalk line all the way down to the previous board. This will ensure the glue is only put to these points, so when I put the board down, it's only on the spots where it's already been glued. So I'm covering all the tops of the rafters, or joists as some people call them, in the PU glue. The PU glue is kind of running a continuous bead or overlapping, so it ensures full contact with the board, and this is what's going to give it most of its strength, fixing it down. And then on top of that, I'm going to screw and nail it. So this is me laying in the 2.4 by 1.2 11mm OSB sheets. These sheets aren't tongue and groove. You can get tongue and groove sheets which have an expansion and contraction joint in them. Those are 18mm and typically 2.4 by 600. As such, they work out a lot more expensive. It can be like 2 to 3 times the cost. No one's really ever going to be walking on this roof, but the boards all end on joists. As you can see on the right hand side here, I actually am going to cut this with my track saw all the way up so it falls on the middle of the joist and the next board is able to meet it there. It's also 32 degrees heat, so you could argue that the expansion has almost fully taken place within the wood. So when it's hotter, the wood will swell. So that means that I'm not leaving a full 3mm gap. It's probably closer to 1 to 2mm gap round the edge of the board. This allows for the expansion and contraction throughout the year. It's going to have a rubber roof membrane put over the top of this, which is 1.5mm thick. That's a Firestone product, and that will be spanning the entire roof in one piece. So this is me just screwing the edges of the board. It's just to get good adhesion to the glue. It's 5-minute PU glue, so it sets obviously quite quickly, particularly in this heat. The consistency of it's like honey. So just trying to get the board pinned at either edge, and then I'll go down it with the nail gun afterwards. Using twin thread stainless steel 1-inch screws, 25mm screws, and drive them through the 11mm OSB into the rafters or joists. here's me just pinging a string line down the middle of the boards. This is just across the joist location, so I can ensure an accurate fixing. It takes like an extra minute, it's just a better job. Stops me missing nails and having them just go through the OSB into nothing. So yeah, worth doing. So this is the dewalt DCN 692 Type 3. This nail gun gets a lot of hate online, but it's worked great for all my DIY tasks, and it's the cheapest battery powered nailer that seems to fire 90mm nails. So I'm using 51mm ring shank nails. This is just to secure them down, similar to screws almost. They have a ribbed exterior as opposed to a smooth shank. It just stops it lifting up, any potential wind lift. Although the joists are very secure, or roof rafters are very secure, it's just important to get a good solid fixing. These are better than using smooth shank nails essentially. So to tie the boards together, I'm just running a bead of PU glue around the edge. This only takes a few minutes. This is a process I've followed for fitting all the boards. As you can see at this point, I had 6 of the full sheets fitted down. There's 4 more to go, so some cuts down the bottom, long strips, and then on the side there'll be mostly full boards, as the structure of the roof is just over 6 meters wide. So here's the last of the boards going in. I just put them in as almost full sheets, and then I'm going to cut off the excess afterwards. I haven't got a use for the offcuts as it's a awkward little amount, and I just wanted good grounds on the joists or rafters below. So these only took, I would say, about 30 minutes to get in, and then let the glue go off, and it's just onto the sanding. So just sanding all the joints just to make sure there's no sharp burrs or anything, because it's a rubber roof that's going to be going down, and if I penetrate that rubber roof, defeats the purpose of having it. At that point it gets us to the roof being on, and as you can see here there's no sofit or fascia detail, so next job is to make a ladder frame. The reason I had to go down the ladder frame route is because of the size of the doors, which I'll get onto in a later video. So this is the ladder frame when it's starting to be fixed on. I've left the OSB sheets long, so afterwards I can come past with the flush trim router as I mentioned and take off the excess. But most of the boards are supported by the main part of the roof structure. This is just to prevent the roof from sagging. Should never be walked on. Also as well, some cables are going to be run within this soffit fascia detail, and those cables will be supporting some outside lights. We're going to do a series of outside down lights throughout the soffit and fascia and down the side of the building as well, as you can see here. But I had to do this round the entire structure of the building. I've only got it on the front and the side, one of the sides, just because it's a bit tricky to film down the back where it's right up tight to the boundary, and similarly the other side. So here you can see me going down it with a flush trim router, just taking little breaks in between to prevent the bit from overheating. It's kind of at its limits, the bit anyway. The flush trim router didn't struggle at all going through this 11mm OSB. It just makes a horrific noise. Even with my ear defenders on, it is one of the worst noises you've ever heard in your life. But yeah, you can see it here, very clean finish at the end, just with the flush trim router. So finally on to one of the final stages, which would be the rubber roof. I'm not going to cover it in this video, just because this is getting a bit too long, and doing it as a separate video would be nice, short and sweet. But yeah, I will never do this again. 94 kilos on my shoulder, up the ladder onto the roof, definitely not safe. I weigh way less than that. It was a bit too heavy. So I just got it on the roof, laid it out flat, just to get out as many of the creases as possible. So you get a lot of factory creases, and during the summer, perfect time to get all those creases out. So it's just sat on the roof for a few days, waiting to be stuck down. If you've got this far in the video, thanks for watching. I've got a couple of other videos before this one, and there will be some coming out after this one on finishing off the garden room. But I'm over the halfway mark now, and the roof is watertight.